In this video today, we're going to take a deeper dive into autoimporter, specifically looking at the cart details and thresholds tab. Remember, autoimporter is your friend when it comes to importing audio automatically. It can batch import audio and do it whilst you're doing something else. It's a real great help. And some of these options that you may find here are going to save you some time. So let's go ahead and open up this job that we've got here, and we're going to go to the cart details tab and take a look. So the first section we're going to look at is the preserve section, and this is only available to you if you're using autoimporter and this specific job when updating a existing UID using the specific UID import method. If you use the new UID method, this section is not available to you. So I'll pop this back to specific UID, and what it's going to do, it's going to essentially preserve the title, the artist, and the various other bits and pieces we've got in this section on the existing audio we're overwriting. So if we've got a news bulletin and we're overwriting it, we tick the title box, it's going to keep the existing title in place. Same with all the other options in this section as well. Moving on to the properties section. So this is where we can set certain properties on the audio, whether we want to normalize the audio, detect if the audio fades, set the audio as a fade. So if you always want audio coming in to be marked as a fade, tick that box there. Moving down to the second line, we've got the set extra button. Definitely recommend that. Trim silence is going to trim up any silence on the start or end of the file. Oversweep, very useful for setting the oversweep function when audio imports for production. And then we have the set color option. Not a lot of people know this, but you can override the color in Playout 1 from the default type color. If you literally click on the set color option, that's going to pop open a little box which allows you to set the text color for the front and the back of the cart. Moving along down to the next section here, we have audio format, and this is where you can override the default format of audio coming in to autoimporter and Playout 1. If we tick the box, it's going to allow us to change the audio format for the audio that is imported. So by default, usually most databases are set to MP3 or WAV. We can change this if we want. So I'm going to choose MP3 and I'm going to choose a bitrate. But if you want to choose FLAC for songs coming in, you can do that. Apply audio processing, we're going to cover that in another video, so check that out if you're interested in seeing how autoimporter can process your audio as it comes in. Next, onto the overrides tab. Here's where we can set some overrides on the cart. So the typing category, pretty self-explanatory. We choose a type, we choose a category for the new audio coming in to pop into either a type or a category. As we move down the list here, we've got the UID section. So this is really useful if you want to manipulate the UID coming in to autoimporter. We can remove characters from the UID, add characters to the UID, create cut carts. We can also choose this option here, which is import all audio into a UID. So if you tick this, and you pop a little UID into the box adjacent to it, any audio coming in through this job is always going to go into this UID. So in my example here, news, any file, anybody drops into a folder that this autoimporter is looking at, it's going to import into the UID news if that option is set. If you want to import new audio into a specific UID range, then you can do that with the start and end boxes here. You do need to be using autoimporter though in the new UID method to get those options to open up. Moving on to the timings box, this is where we can override timing. So you can force set an intro, an extra, an early extra, a trim in and a trim out. So if you always want your extra at 30 seconds, you can set that using the options here. You can also choose to offset the extra. So for example, if we detect the extra at 30 seconds and we use plus or minus 5 seconds, it will either make the extra 25 seconds or 35 seconds, depending on the plus or the minus boxes ticked. Moving along to the thresholds box adjacent to the timings box, here is where we're going to set our thresholds for detecting the trim in, the extra, and the trim out. Now, most of these settings can stay in place. However, if your extras are a little loose or a little tight, you can adjust the extra threshold box here. And finally, at the bottom, LUFS, that's the normalization value. So if LUFS normalization has detected your file should be played at -10 and you alter this value, then it's going to alter the value by whatever you set in here. So in the LUFS box, we're going to alter it. we're going to set it to 4. So if it detected -10, it's going to add 4 back onto that, so it becomes -6. Finally, the cart details box. This is where you can override the title and the artist. So every time a file imports, it's always going to have that title that you set here. It's always going to have that artist. You can also use placeholders to put the date and time for when the audio is imported. If you hover over the box, you can go to a website and see what you can use there. And then finally, the casing section, as I'm highlighting here, this allows you to change the casing of the title and artist from uppercase, lowercase, sentence case, etc.